let me tell you something. Whatever God has called you to do, it's in you already. The reality is, many of us struggle with it because we have yet to accept it. I was talking on the phone to a friend of mine earlier today, and she said, Nicole, I am wrestling with just knowing how to walk in what God has graced me to do, and really just accepting it. And I said, let me show you something. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 1. We love to quote, the scripture, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. But if you keep going in that chapter, we see that God has not only called Jeremiah, not only, affirmed him, but he validates him and he shows him how. So let's see. In Jeremiah chapter 1, it says that, when God calls Jeremiah, Jeremiah says, but God, I'm young. And that's where many of us get stuck right there. We say, well, God, I don't have the experience. Well, so-and-so has the certifications. I don't have the degree. I don't have, 10 years under my belt. I just got here. Why would people listen to me? We go on and on about the excuses as to why we're not qualified, right? We're like Gideon. God, I'm not qualified for this. I'm the least in my father's house, right? We look at ourselves through the world's lens and not through God's lens, right? But when God has called you, he's the one who's going to do the training. He's going to test you, right? If we look at Jeremiah 1, he said, I have put my word in your mouth. And he said, Jeremiah, what do you see? And Jeremiah said, well, I see an almond tree. He's like, good. And he says, he asked, he came to Jeremiah the second time. He's like, Jeremiah, what do you see? He says, well, I see, like a boiling pot facing the north, something along those lines. And God starts to expound on what he's seeing. But Jeremiah is being tested by God to prove to Jeremiah that he has surely been called to do the work. And so you might be saying, well, Nicole, what does that have to do with me? God has already been testing you in the area that he's called you to. It might be someone asking you for advice on a particular topic. It might be that you've been given opportunities in a certain area. It might be that you have certain strengths that people lean on that you have not recognized yourself because someone around you has not validated it. But I'm going to tell you, it's in you because God put it in you before you were formed in your mother's womb. So I don't want you to rely on external validation for this, but rely on God because it's already in you to do it. And may this video serve as confirmation for you that you are absolutely sure of what you're seeing. You're not crazy, okay? Yes, you're probably the first in your family to do it, and it's okay. You don't need your family to do it, right? God called many people outside of their family to do what he's called them to do. And you're not going to be any different from that. So let go of what you think it's supposed to look like and just receive it and walk in it and be very confident in the fact that God has called you. Let's stop right there. The God who sits high, the God who sits in heaven, who created the heavens and the earth, and he looked at the world, he said, let there be light, right? The God that sits in Genesis, right? And the God who has all wisdom and is all knowing and sent his son Jesus, the God who has done all of those things, he is the one who confirms you. He affirms you. He validates you. And if you don't find peace in that and confidence in that and assurance in that, nothing else will be able to settle you. So be settled in God to go and do and be everything that he's called you to be without the fear of man or any opinions that will come against you, because guess what? They're going to come. But you're going to be sure in who you are because you've been called by God.